SwissBorg is the official partner of my channel where you can buy, sell, hold, and more importantly stake your cryptocurrencies. You can even earn yield on your stablecoins. Sign up with my link and you'll earn up to $100 worth of their native token CHSB just for depositing €50 worth of crypto. SwissBorg. Good evening everybody. I'm going to show you a setup which I think has got a high probability of success, but try to listen to what I'm saying. It's what I'm going to consider to be the last bounce before what could be either a crash or just capitulation, which effectively is the same thing. And not to get too excited, and if you want to, I suppose, position yourself, do it with extreme caution, because it might not happen at all. But I think this has got a reasonable probability of working out, and again, this is what I'm going to call the last bounce. So it's not going to be like the everything bounce that we got last time. The everything bounce did a nice big move up to resistance, back down again. This will be different. This will be just a smaller bounce, shorter lived, which will end in tears if you hold on for too long. So let's boil it down then. So today we saw the VIX kind of move up quite a lot. The VIX is almost like a fear and greed index. When you're above 20, it's fear. When you're above 40, it's extreme fear, and it begs the question, should I buy the blood? That's usually the way that this is played. VIX above 40, it's extreme fear. When the market is fearful, you should be greedy. The old phrase, blah blah blah. So at the moment we're 30, which is kind of not quite there yet. This is like, you're looking down a cliff face, so you're not quite falling yet, but it's not quite ripe. It's not fear at all, and we can see that in stocks. So I'm not going to talk about stocks much, but we can see that in stocks. We're still holding on to the 200 simple moving average here for Nasdaq. Everyone will be looking at that and going, oh god, I hope we don't break from there, but we could, and we probably will. So let's boil it down a little bit further. So the enemy of all charts right now, whether it's Bitcoin or crypto in general, or stocks, commodities even, like gold and oil, the enemy to all is the Dixie, and the Dixie isn't really a chart that can be traded independently. The Dixie is a gauge of strength of dollar versus a bag of other currencies. So today it's moved up a lot, and it comes as no surprise, because today, for the most part, the pound has gone down 3.4%. It's a big deal. The reason it did this is not just because of the short signal that we showed on the channel about 4 weeks ago, saying that this is going to go down. It's going down, it's going below parity, it's going below parity, and I believe that to be the case. But it's because the government over here have decided to go all in. They've gone 100x on the economy. They've decided to spend more and cut taxes. They basically said, look, we're going to get wrecked one way or another, so we might as well try to do something completely crazy and do all this mad stuff, and it's not going to be good for the pound. It's likely not going to be good for the economy in the short term. Maybe in 10 years from now we'll come out of this victorious, but we've got to try something, because there is no escaping the demise and the entering into what might be, for the UK at least, and for Europe as well, but for the UK, quite a deep recession, to be honest with you. Inflation's sky high. What they've done today is only going to increase inflation, so it's a massive gamble. It's a huge gamble, but anyway. So yeah, the pound crashed, and my expectation is it's going to continue to go down. But the reason I'm talking about the pound and the euro is because we know that they have a large effect on the Dixie. Obviously, we've seen the big move up today from the Dixie. We've seen the big move down from these two today. So, if we look back long enough on the weekly here, there is a very significant area of support, which is going to get broken, obviously, because fundamentally it will. There's no chance of it holding for a long period of time, or maybe not even this first attempt, but about 106 on the pound, and on the euro, it's about 96. So anywhere around these areas would be an area for what could be a decent bounce. And if these two bounce together at this, and again, they're both approaching a very significant area on their own charts, which does make me feel as it's quite likely to see a bounce on them. Remember, this is just a bounce. This isn't anything other than that. I expect the euro to stay below parity. I expect the pound to go below parity. There's nothing stopping that. I expect the Dixie to probably break out of this ascending channel, which is extremely bullish, targeting areas of probably like 120 and maybe even further over time, over the next 2 quarters probably. But a bounce on these two is enough to bring the Dixie down, and as the Dixie is just approaching this major area of resistance here, these two are both approaching their major areas of support. And again, this is just a bounce there from them, and just another little pullback from the Dixie. Nothing other than that. So don't misinterpret what I'm saying. This is not the Dixie retracing or anything like that. It's just a pullback on the Dixie, most likely back down to the 10 exponential on the weekly here, which is going to be trending up like this, and so we might see something along the lines of this. A couple of weeks of subtle downside, maybe going down to 110, 111, maybe at best. We'll see where we go. There is a chance that we get to the 21 exponential, so maybe a little deeper, but either way, nothing special and probably very short-lived. But downside on the Dixie will correspond to upside across anything that's pegged against the dollar. So we're talking things like gold, we're talking Nasdaq, we're talking oil, we're talking crypto, we're talking Bitcoin, talking all of that. And then what's going to happen is this is just a simple buy the dip opportunity for the dollar. You know, whether we come down to the 10 or the 21, it's a buy the dip, which is probably going to break us out of this channel, I would imagine. With the power that it's got so far and the projection that these two shitcoins basically have got going for them, the Dixie is almost guaranteed to break out. The only thing that will stop it now would be the Fed. So yeah, not that we shouldn't focus on the Fed, but there is more to it when it comes to the Dixie. The Dixie is like I say, it's just a chart to tell us the strength of the dollar compared to other currencies, and at the moment other currencies are weak. The dollar is weak, but it's not as weak as all these other shit coins that are bagged within the Dixie. So I'm going to call this the last bounce before probably capitulation or crash, because the everything bounce is finished here. That was fine. You know, there was no big deal. That was what it was. This is just going to be a measly bounce at best on the Nasdaq. You'll see the 10 exponential on the weekly get tagged. You know, with oil, there's a chance that we actually do break out for oil, but we'll see. We'll see how this reacts to this last bounce. And again, if all markets capitulate, oil will capitulate also. You know, because it'll be the financial meltdown, isn't it, that people have been referring to all this time. This is what this portion of the charts. This is what they refer to. You know, this is what it looks like on the charts. There's not many times, in all fairness, that we see a breakdown on the Nasdaq, for instance, below the 200 weekly. So 200 weekly was more or less tagged on the COVID crash here, but the only two times that we've seen it go down lower than this was the financial collapse, 2008. We came down there, shot ourselves back up again after a little while, a good 6-month period. And the dot-com bubble, we came down to our 200 simple moving average here, had a little reaction. This could be considered to be the last bounce, similar to what I'm expecting at the moment, the last bounce before crashing back down. So it does happen, and it happens at times of extreme madness in markets. And again, we're just looking at the Nasdaq here, and I think this is what we're going to be looking at now. This could be considered to be the last bounce, and it's based mostly on the euro and the pound. The Bank of England are going to have some emergency meeting, maybe an extreme rate hike, maybe next week or so. Maybe they'll go a bit harder. They might have to try and do something, and that'll have an effect on this, and that'll have an effect on the Dixie also. So, like I say, I just thought I'd put it out there. This is something for you to decide. You know, what this does to Bitcoin is your guess is as good as mine. There's nothing bullish about this chart really when you look at it. If we just focus on the daily, you know, so long as we're below 19,750, we'll stay below there. If anything, what we'll be looking at is a range building around here, probably very boring and sideways, until the bounce might take it maybe into the 20,000 or so. It'll be short-lived, and then I think we're going to come back down again. You know, there's nothing bullish about this chart. It's not like the, you know, XRP and Algorand, for instance. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I said, look, there's buy signals. You get buy signals here and there and everywhere. You know, the buy signals are different. You know, bullish charts, buy signals, that's fine. There's nothing like that on Bitcoin. So when it comes to trying to play this, if this is something you're looking to play, look for buy signals within this week. You know, look for strong positive setups in this week. You know, we just looked at we've just gone through it on the Patreon. There's only very few that we saw that has a possibility of actually doing quite well throughout what this theory of mine is, which is the last bounce. And they're all altcoins. You know, there's nothing like Bitcoin. There's no Ethereum. There's no nothing. There is altcoins, certain altcoins which have the possibility of running maybe 10-20%, maybe, yeah, roughly speaking, potentially. But, you know, there's not many of them. You know, we only, to be honest, there's only one really that stuck out in my mind after the Patreon live stream that we just did. So, yeah, again, you know, don't buy anything unless there's a buy signal on it. Don't buy things just because, you know, the markets do show that there is going to be this last bounce before capitulation. Don't get stuck in a position before a capitulation. Do you know what I mean? It's a dodgy time to want to try and make a trade anyway. If anything, you're probably better off waiting on the sidelines for the capitulation and then navigating your way around the charts thereafter. But again, like I say, it's not as simple as, you know, everything up. You know, some things won't move up, but other things provide buy signals that you can take advantage of, like what we did with XRP and Algorand, for instance. So there might be a few of those dotted around the altcoin world. But yeah, this looks like the situation that's unfolding in front of our very eyes now. So I'll call it, like I say, the last bounce before the crash, and that'll be the clickbait title for this one. And it's not clickbait because I truly believe it to be the case. It looks like this is what's going to happen, and this is why we sat the market out for the most part, waiting for this this capitulation or crash to take place. And now it looks as though we'll get one last little bounce across the board, which might feel kind of euphoric because it might be quite pronounced, but it'll just be the last bounce. It won't be like the everything bounce we did in the summer, which was really good, you know, hundreds of % I suppose throughout a two and a half month period. This is going to last maybe as little as a few days to potentially a couple of weeks, and that will be it. Then we go into the new range, the deeper range, where we can, I suppose, regroup and decide what it is that we want to do. But for the most part, holding dollars is probably the best thing to do for a reasonable period of time. Right, I'll leave it with you there. Hopefully that has been in some way useful to you. Like I say, this thing doesn't have to happen. It's just that it does feel like there's enough on these charts when you combine them together to suggest that this actually probably will happen. Yeah, but it might not. We might wake up on Monday morning and the pound has decided parity is it's going to be its new place. It could happen that fast. So it doesn't have to happen, but it looks as though it probably will. But it doesn't have to. So just recognize that the fundamentals that go into these charts right now, the currency charts, are the most important thing governing all markets right now. And it is very much that simple, and the fundamentals are stronger than the technicals. The technicals all point down anyway on the longer period of time. The fundamentals point down as well, so everything points further down. Just looking for one last little bounce before we continue with this giant move down for all currencies, and this probably a breakout for the Dixie as well. Right, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. Try not to get too concerned. There are obviously benefits to seeing markets crashing. Long-term investments, you know, pensions, this, that, and the other. Even picking up all those altcoins and whatnot that you've had your eyes on for a very long period of time. You know, we do need a capitulation in all markets. It seems unavoidable, and so we should kind of just welcome it, just get it over with. You know, it's like ripping a plaster off a scabby knee. You know, it's just got to be done. Let's just grit your teeth and get it done, and then we'll reassess the situation once it has been done. Will we go down further, or is that enough? Right. Change your trousers now, because I'm sure you need a new pair of underpants after what I've just said. But yeah, let's see what next week brings. And I actually think it's going to bring a bit of a bounce across every market, commodity, crypto, stocks. There you go. Take it easy, guys. Thanks for watching.